In this video, we're going to go over my top three stock picks for the week of September 11th, 2023. Monday, Tuesday for economic news, these news reports that are coming out this week is Monday and Tuesday was nothing. Just going to be probably flat to negative days would be my guess, because we got CPI coming up on Wednesday. And uh, one of the things that I'm noticing is during these CPI reports and PPI reports is that the market just sells off leading up to them. It kind of tells you at how unconfident the overall market is with the state of the economy. Like it seems very skittish. Like it's just waiting. Like it's just kind of like walking on a very thin branch, and you can just hear like it's cracking, it's cracking. They're just waiting for it just to snap, and everything just goes to hell. It seems like, and then once the CPI report comes out, everything's just fine until the next one. So Wednesday, CPI, Tuesday or Thursday, core PPI, two big movers. I think last week, or not last week, but the last time this CPI came out, CPI pushed the market higher, PPI came out, pushed the market lower, and then it ended up going back higher. My top three picks this week, we have Charter, CRWD, and Palantir. We'll come over here to stock chart. Last week's picks, we had Alibaba, which I think is still a good trade. It's sitting on the lower end of this channel, and as long as it holds, I think this thing's got room back up, at least to the top of the channel. These types of trades are not day trades. These are more like swing trades. Maybe a couple weeks, 2, 3 weeks, month maybe. And even if you wanted to, some of these trades are really good for long-term investing, such as Baba right now. Baba is currently valued, I believe it. Well, let's take a look. We can see what Baba's valued at. Baba is currently valued at $210 per share, and it's sitting at $90 per share. So that probably is a potential for a pretty good long-term trade. Also last week we had Airbnb. Airbnb, I was looking for this to come pull back to this trend line and resume higher. Well, it did almost that. It pulled through a little bit more, and it held this overall trend line, which was where my stop was at. So I had actually bought in as soon as it hit this trend line, and then it continued lower on me, but I held, and I'm now sitting green on the trade from right now, and I'm looking to exit close to the top of this trend line. Airbnb's price, fair market value, I believe, is like $152 per share. It is $152 per share on Airbnb here. Also, last week we had TSM. TSM did not hold this trend line. I even mentioned that I wasn't a huge fan because of these two weekly topping tails in the chart. It looked like it was going to break through, but if it held, I foresaw it going much higher. However, it broke through. We're going to move on to this week's top three picks. So I've picked this one before. And this is Charter. And Charter, I was expecting to pull back to this trend line a couple weeks ago. It never pulled all the way back to it, and then it just broke through this trend line here, which was great until Disney news came out against it, some sort of dispute between Disney and Charter, and I don't I I don't think there's a resolution between it yet. So that was a big reason for the pullback in the stock. And then it pulled back to that trend line, which I entered into for a full position, and now it's pushing higher. So I'm looking for this to continue higher. I think especially if Disney and Charter can come to some sort of resolution this week on whatever debacle they got going on, then that could push this stock much higher. And this currently valued at $709 per share. Number two, we have Palantir, PLTR. Palantir is a little tricky. I like it because last week the overall market, let's take a look at that real quick. We'll just go with the Qs. The overall market sold off last week, right? This is the weekly candles. And Palantir didn't really do that. It kind of stayed steady. We can take a look at the SPY as well. The SPY is down last week. And you can see Palantir didn't collapse with the market. It held its ground pretty good at this about $15 range. So it makes me a little confident that if we do have a decent week next week, I think Palantir has the potential to run back up to about $19 per share. Maybe not just in the week, maybe in a week or two. So if CPI doesn't destroy the market next week, then I could see this pushing higher. So I like it. Stop loss is below about 13. I'm probably 1380 is where I would put a stop loss in into next week. And I'd probably look to enter about where it's sitting now. Um, and Palantir is a stock currently that is not profitable. So we don't have a full understanding of what this company's worth. I'll put a link in for each one of these stock analysis videos. I believe Palantir we priced out at about $12 per share. So currently trading overvalued, but obviously there's always hype behind Palantir and it doesn't always trade based on what it's valued. So basically we're trading off technicals, not fundamentals on swing trades here for the most part. So that's Palantir. Last but not least, we have CrowdStrike. CRWD is our last pick of the week. I really like this one. I think this one's got, again, if we have a good week, I think this thing has the potential to pop out of this channel and potentially run up to like 200 bucks a share. Um, there's not much, there's a lot of junk, but really its next resistance point, I would say would be about $200 per share. So if CrowdStrike can push through this, which it's got two nice big green candles in 2 weeks in a row. One of them is on volume. I believe there's earnings actually. And I think this thing's got enough leg room to start pushing itself higher. Something else we could kind of do here is draw a little bit of a trend line, something like this. So maybe if we go, yeah, I mean, you could probably reach 190-ish, something like that on CrowdStrike here. And currently CrowdStrike, when we valued it, same thing. It's not a positive company, but again, I will drop a link to the valuation that we did. I believe it was last week on CrowdStrike. So that's my top three picks of this week. I will, like I said, I'm gonna try and drop a link in of the valuations we did on each one of these. We will be back next Sunday with another top three pick video.